All right, everybody, welcome to the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network, right here from the state-of-the-art studios in Round Rock, Texas. And Kelly, they're state-of-the-art, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
I mean, they're huge. I always say that beginning, and I get the same reaction from every guest. Yeah, this is just
I've never been in
fantastic.
such a big studio.
And it's just room, and there's food and refreshments,
Oh,
and
yeah.
my sidekicks over here. So anyhow, guys, tonight this is the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network. Our guest tonight is Kelly Butcher. She is with SimplificationServices.com. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. However, let me give you first-time listeners a little intro to how the show works, so you know. Um, we use the Google Hangouts. We use it as an outbound audio broadcast only. This actually replaced an old Windows Server radio farm I used to have on the internet radio, a server farm. And so we love for you. We invite the public. We love for you to listen in. But this is mainly catered toward all the Austin small businesses. I have about 8 or 9 sponsors who help pay the light bill, so to speak. And those 8 or 9 sponsors get mentioned, not all of them on the show, but they have their own link to the website
Mhm.
after the show's over on your custom player, Kelly. And then we cover Austin business. They get to come on for free, and we get to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight: social networking management, social networking. But we have air conditioning people. We had a hypnosis guy on here a couple weeks ago. We've had chiropractors. We've had
Wow.
doctors. We've had nutritionists. And so if you mosey over to Hurdy Burke Broadcast Network on Facebook, that's a group, Hurdy Burke Broadcast Network. There's a group on there with all these shows that we've done that are listed. It's an open group, so all you have to do is click join, and I'll approve it. No big deal, but come join us. So this is the Hurdy
Sounds
Burke
good.
Internet Broadcast Network. Kelly, welcome.
Hello.
What
Thank
do
you
you
so
think?
much, Herdy. Thanks for having me. I'm
What do you think?
excited. I love it.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Are you still nervous?
Well,
How's a teacher
no.
get nervous, by the way, from the past, right? Well, you just do,
Well,
right? It's new.
yeah, it's just different. Something different.
Well, at least we're not on camera.
Right. Yeah,
That
that does make it a lot
that would
easier.
make it a little bit tougher on us. But hey, we want you guys to know, first of all, believe it or not, it's May what, going
Oh,
into
goodness.
15th, and what's
Yeah.
the temperature going to be
It's
tonight?
freezing.
50.
Yeah. It's gonna
It's
be, I
going to
think,
be cold,
48.
48 tonight in Austin, Texas. Unheard of, but we'll take it.
Right.
what
Yeah.
i'm
Well, we
hoping
love the
is
rain.
what
Yeah.
i'm hoping is Kelly, we'll get a cold front like every 4 weeks throughout the summer that puts us back in the 60s or
Yeah,
so.
that would
Wouldn't
be
that be
nice.
cool?
Yeah.
Or rain all summer.
Well, we definitely need the rain.
We need the
So,
rain, but I don't like the rain all the time. It gets kind of
no, it's kind of gloomy,
right. Fine.
but yeah.
All right, so we're going to introduce you. You are with name of the company is,
Simplification
and
Services,
it is a social,
social media management, internet marketing company.
right, and website. Just so we can let
All
our
right, my
our viewers know.
website,
Don't leave the show. Just go open another browser.
it's www.simplificationservices.com.
Hard to say, but
Yep.
easy to spell. It's exactly what it sounds like, right? And your favorite color is
Blue.
blue. Is it kind of purple blue?
But
Or yeah,
yeah,
it kind of leans toward that, but that's the color. And so when you guys go check out our website after the show, or open another browser and go look at it, but don't
don't
leave
leave
the
the
show.
show.
Thank you very much. Just to know, she'll have a great archive on her website after this too that she can use as kind of a little infomercial about her services. So I always like to do this before we get started. Um, Tell us a little. Are you Austin?
No, we've actually lived in Austin, well, Cedar Park for 16 years.
Right, but where were you from?
From a lot of different places. I moved around a lot when I was growing up.
Yep.
So, but after I got married, we moved to Florida.
Okay, so
So
Florida.
Florida's Florida was home for about 8 years.
That's not a bad place to live.
No, no, it was nice,
Is your
but
husband a golfer?
he used to golf. He's
Yeah,
not a
he
big golfer
used to. He's like
anymore.
everybody
Yeah,
else, right? Kids and work, and the golf game is like when I
exactly,
get to it, and who cares, right?
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
that's
Okay,
good.
so North Florida,
Oh no,
Panhandle
South
or South?
Florida,
In
close
the hot?
to Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay, cool. So that's gorgeous over there.
It is. It
Now,
is.
I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was a kid, I was raised in Huntsville, Alabama. And
That's where
we
I was
used,
born.
really?
I was born in Huntsville.
No.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I only lived there for, 6 months, but yeah.
Okay, well, I was raised there. My
Okay.
dad was with IBM and NASA,
Okay.
and they contracted, right? So
Yeah.
we lived right below Mount Sano. over there. But I went to Grissom High School.
Oh my gosh.
So what a small world.
That's funny. Yeah, that is really funny.
Well, good. Well, anyhow, my point was we used to go camping down the Sanibel Islands where they were all grown up
yeah.
on the east side of, on the west side of
West
the
side of
lower
Florida,
coast.
yeah,
And
it's beautiful.
you know what? Beautiful back then.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing out there.
Yeah, now it's just crazy.
It's built up, but it's like
Lots of
Texas.
traffic.
It's like
Yes.
Texas, like Austin.
Yep.
All right, so we've got a lot to cover. All right, I'm going to ask you some fun questions.
Okay.
So we can get to know our guests, right?
A little worried here.
Okay, no problem. No, it's real easy. Number one, you are married. You have how many children?
I have 2 children.
2 children. Boys or girls?
Well, they're hardly children. They're both boys, and one is 21 and one's 19.
All right, so they're moving on. Are they both in school?
They are both in school.
Oh,
yes.
man, you got your hands full, right?
Yep.
All right, so favorite band growing up?
Favorite band?
Favorite band growing up? Or
Oh my gosh.
if you had just several, that's fine.
Yeah,
just pick one you
like
really like.
Duran Duran.
Okay,
Rick
that's
Springfield.
cool. All right, Rick Springfield. Jesse's girl.
Yep.
Okay, everybody's saying that song, right? All right, so Jesse's girl, we got that down. All right, last concert you remember going to?
Well, my husband and I just went to REO Speedwagon.
Well, never mind. That's a good one. That's
Right.
showing our age.
Yeah.
But they were good. Everybody
It
forgets
was
about
awesome,
them. Do you
yeah.
understand? They still play as tight as they did.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Oh, it was awesome.
You know, these older classic bands that are coming back around the corner, right? They picked up their game a little bit,
Yeah.
haven't they?
Well, I have to say, we went to ACL also, and we saw The Cure. We were really excited about The Cure.
Who remembers that?
Well, they haven't aged as well. Let's just put it that
and
way.
they were kind of like, okay, I remember in the good old days how they
yeah,
used to
they've
play.
had a hard life, but
they bring the buzz, right?
Yeah.
All right. So before we get started, Kelly, with your questions, let's cover a couple of the guys that cover the light bulbs, right?
Oh,
First one is I want to cover Jeff Steck. Jeff Steck, you probably know Jeff. Jeff is with his own company. The name of it is Tyler Erica. He's combined his son's name with his daughter's name, Systems. TylerEricaSystems.com. Jeff is a certified authorized duct tape consultant.
Oh, okay.
He
Great.
works with companies that are like I want to say in the $1 million range, but his real niche, his target market is that company, like so many that get to a certain point and they don't know how to grow, or they don't know what to do to accommodate the growth.
Right.
They don't know how to outsource, and they need some help with that marketing side and putting those pieces together because they start getting lost, right? So go check out TylerEricaSystems.com. Jeff Steck, he is a sponsor of the show. And my next sponsor is AMS Garage Doors, AMSGarageDoors.com, located here in Austin. They service all of Austin. All their prices are already on their website, so before they come out to fix your garage door and they determine what it is, you already know what the price
that's
is.
Nice.
And let's say you drove home, parked your car in the garage, goes halfway down, stops. Can't get out. They'll come out 24/7, middle of the night, whenever. Make sure they get the car out so they can go to work. Oh, too bad. Oh,
darn.
And then they come back and fix it next day. So go check out AMSGarageDoors.com.
Especially when you work from home, it doesn't really help.
That's right. Thank the sponsors. And then welcome to our front door tonight, Kelly Butcher.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So, we would probably talk hours, right?
Probably.
About social networking and all the thousands of social networks and how to implement in our marketing and advertising. Yeah. But you have 3 things you say immediately right on your website. The first one is, what is your target market?
So my target market are small business owners, probably 10 employees or less, that are just confused about all the social media. They don't know which one's right for their business. They're struggling to get seen locally, especially if there's if it's a retail location or a storefront. They want to know, how do I get buyers into my store?
Right.
And they're frustrated and overwhelmed with finding the time to work on social media, and to make posts and comments, and they don't know which platforms to use and how to do it all.
Yeah, and so let's go back to those 3 things, because I think you really did. You're one of the first people that actually I've seen this on the front, emulating the feelings of most people, right? Putting those words into feelings, and that is, let's talk about confused. Let's kind of define what that means, because honestly, even the people that are in it a lot, including myself and you, we stay confused sometimes,
Yes.
right? Because of all the changes from that
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, but also, how are we supposed to implement this with the client, right?
Right, right. It is confusing. I mean, like you said, it's confusing to me and you as well because there are so many changes that
So
are
imagine
constantly
what our
going on.
clients that don't know anything,
Right.
they don't have a clue about how it all works together. And so what do you find typically when you walk in and somebody says they're confused? What are they basically telling you?
They just don't know which way to turn. They think they need to be on every social platform they've ever heard of, which of course you can't do that. That's just crazy. You'd be spread so thin.
And so would your social media management person.
Exactly, exactly.
Right.
And they just don't know. They know they need to be on social media. I hear that all the time. I know I need to be on social media, but I don't know what to do.
So I think the confusion is I don't know where to begin,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'm not sure, even if I knew where to begin, I'd be willing to put the effort into it. So the confusion is how do I market this, right?
Right, right.
Do you find it really weird that a lot of clients you bump into aren't even sure yet what their target market is?
Well,
As a matter of
I
fact,
do, yeah. And I mean, it's hard even for me to really specifically say my target market.
yep.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that you really need to look at. And we try to set up goals too when we start talking about social media. Why do you think you need to be on social media? Because like I said, they all tell me I know I need to be on social media, but I said, well, why do you think you need to be on social
Right. Good
media?
question.
What
Okay.
are you trying to accomplish? And it also depends on what kind of business they have, whether or
Exactly.
not they need to be on social media. Maybe there is a better use of their resources and money. For instance, maybe doing Google AdWords or
Right.
um, publishing, making sure that their business is listed on all the search engines and on like Google Local, Google Plus Local, and Bing Local, and Yahoo
And a
Local,
lot
and
of people don't know there's forms out there that you can get online that if you want to list all your businesses on
hmm
all the search engines at one time, you can go in and fill out all the parameters, make sure your address matches up, lines up
yes,
with your DBA, all that stuff, right?
right, and
And then it just puts it out there. So you want to
exactly.
get your business listed on your search engines.
You're right. You definitely want to do that, and you made a good point. You want your name and address to match as well.
Yes, and if it doesn't, it messes everything up.
Right, because the search engines, they don't know what to make of that. Is, Kelly
Do they have
Butcher
two locations or
LLC
four?
the same
Right,
as Kelly Butcher S Corp?
right,
I don't know, but
right.
they need to really match up. So that is a service that I provide for my
And
clients.
and that's a good service because I will tell you that the first thing you should do, and I did this,
Hmm.
right, Kelly, is you go out when you start your business and knowing that you're going to want a presence online at some point, go ahead and get all your search engines, and there's hundreds, right? But
Right,
you
right.
can pick the ones, or you can just say push this out to all of them. Make sure your webmaster, who's handling your website, which Kelly, you do some of that work too, right? Not as much, but I mean,
Right.
you want to make sure that you've listed those search engines and buy, even if you have to buy in a little bit for those. But you can list it. There's so many that are free.
Right,
City Search and
definitely.
the Mantas
Hmm.
and all these guys, right?
Oh,
You can
yes.
go out and list. So get your company. The first thing you can do is eliminate some confusion is call Kelly and get your company listed on all your social sites.
Right. You can just do a Google search. I do this for when I meet with a client for the first time. I always do just a Google search on the name of their business and see where they are listed, if they're listed at all. And sometimes, they really aren't even listed. Nothing comes up.
And that helps show them the next step too.
Right. Which I always say, let's pull back on social media and let's get your listings updated
Perfect.
first.
So there depending on what level you go into a
Hmm.
company at depends on where you guys start. So
That's right.
the confusion, right? It is,
Yes.
man, I don't know where to begin. I don't even know what the word SEO means. I don't know what the
Right.
word search means. I don't know how people are going to find me. I don't know what to offer. I get that, right? What is
Yes.
that AdWords? What is Bing Words? What
Yes.
is Yahoo offer? What are all these things I can do, right? And how much are they? We hear that all the
Well,
time.
that's right. And they hear all that. We spout off all these things, and because to us, we're used to working with them with those words and those acronyms, but they're not. So they don't really know what you're talking
No,
about.
they don't. And what's the old saying? That KISS, KISS. Well, I
Uh-huh.
say keep it simple, simple.
Yes.
Right, that's my new way of saying it, because the simpler it is and the more we get rid of the jargon talk and get into just basic drawing. I draw circles a lot. You probably do that
Yes.
too. All right, so
Mhm.
the struggle part. What is the struggle that you bump into when you're managing some of these companies? What is it they were struggling with that prompted them to get you in the door?
Well, they're wondering where their clients are. You know, why they're struggling with finding their target market and why they're not coming into their retail location if they have a retail location, or why they're not getting found on the web. And you know, in that case, for the web, maybe they need to do some search engine optimization of their website.
Yeah,
Now,
look at that first and see if their product
right. Well, if
key
their
phrases,
keywords are
keywords
in
are lined up.
there, and you know, especially if they have a WordPress website, there's a lot of ways to really optimize those fairly easily. That's not a service I offer, but that is something that I'll look at their website and you know, just from what I know, just say, you know, I really think you need to maybe upgrade your website first, because ultimately, I think the goal for most people is to drive traffic to their website.
Right.
Unless they have a storefront, you know, then obviously the goal is
Yeah, you
to
kind of
get the
want your
traffic in.
website to be the center of the platform where
Hmm.
you can put a lot of stuff on that pushes back out too, right?
Exactly.
All right, so the website struggle I hear all the time too.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
a lot of people ask me the same questions, and I tell them, the first thing you need to do is, like you said, is get an expert in that can look at and make sure that what you're saying on your site matches
Hmm.
up with your service, and that you have enough of the key phrases and keywords that are not spamming,
Right.
but are legitimate to what you do is
Exactly.
real important. And I tell people you need to find a webmaster that's a webmaster on the Google side that understands how to use those tools,
Hmm.
because those tools give you the guidelines for how a website
Right.
can be set up, and it's very effective if you
Yes,
put them to work, right?
it is
So,
definitely.
so websites a struggle. I get that. They change, products change.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
yeah.
But you can look at a
Everything's
website, and I
evolution.
can too, and we can see that it may not match up with their titles and things of that
Right.
nature.
Well, you know, and you even just ask, when did you have this website created? And if it was, you know, even as little as 3 years ago, you probably need to update
That's
it.
like, yeah, that's like, and by the way, that's a good point, because part of, and we're going to get more into social networking,
Right.
but
That's right.
static sites,
Hmm.
you need to make them more interactive with video, with think blog, maybe your
Blogging.
blog, or and
Hmm.
having comments on the site, or have your badges set up so
Yes.
people can find you in G Plus and Facebook and all that
Right.
stuff. So you don't want that site to sit still, and you want to make changes on an ongoing basis, because that
Exactly.
helps with the
It helps with
showing that it's
SEO.
a real site.
That's right. Yeah, it's not, you don't want it to be static. And I mean, video is a perfect way to do that, and blogging also. That's another thing I'll recommend is, you know, if they have the type of business where a blog would be something that
Yeah, if
they
they
could
have
do
a kind of a
easily.
fun thing.
Right, right. That, you know, blogging really helps with search engine optimization, and, you know, I can help them set that up if they don't know how to do it. They can write the
Call
blog.
Kelly.
Yeah, see, I
What's that website again?
Oh, www.simplificationservices.com.
Yeah, don't leave the show, but if you want to open up another browser, go check it out. Okay, so we'll keep going into this a little bit further because time is going fast.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
so let's talk about. It's really broad, but it's one of your questions that our crack staff came up with. Our producer sitting behind us, right?
That's
Don't
right.
laugh. Shh, don't give it away. All right. So, what do you define internet marketing as?
Well, internet marketing are all the marketing activities that business owners will use the internet for to sell their products and services. So it can be email marketing campaigns, it can be blogging, it can be social media, search engine marketing, you know, all these things that we've kind of already
Ebooks,
been
what,
talking
yeah,
about.
and
Yeah.
anything that authors, all those people.
Hmm.
So really, internet marketing is everything. You're looking at it from the umbrella
Right,
standpoint,
right.
right?
Your
Okay,
website, everything that is anything on the internet encompasses internet marketing if you're trying to sell your products and
right.
services.
So if somebody has a Facebook personal page and they have a Facebook business page, then the business page would be part of their marketing,
Right.
advertising, or probably brand and marketing in this case,
Hmm.
right? Because you don't
Hmm.
do a whole lot of selling on Facebook.
Right.
Although I not always in agreement that you shouldn't try to sell something. Okay, yeah. So
Yes,
there's a
yes.
fine line. We'll talk about that. All right. So we've got internet marketing. I think everybody that's listening kind of understands how that
Mhm.
works. But
Mhm.
now slap in your face on this internet marketing is this big social footprint that was created, right? That
Right.
keeps expanding. So what is the social networking part of this?
So the social media marketing part of it's just a subset of the internet marketing. It's using the social media platforms to build a community of followers on the internet. And once you get some followers, then social media makes it really easy to keep in touch with them. And we've all heard this, that people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust.
And that's true.
So that's what it is all about. I mean, that's why you want to use social media, because it's not just people, or not just your business posting something about your business. You want the people to interact with you.
And but you've got to do the same.
Right.
And
exactly.
that's the big two-way street that I think a lot of people miss out on, don't you? On the social side, is that it's social. Think about that word for a minute. You just posting your own stuff and not liking other people's stuff, not commenting, not going to their blog and reading it and commenting on it, not, means that you're doing a one-way social gig.
Yes.
And
exactly.
just don't go out and buy followers and people on your stupid sites, okay? We all know who you are when we don't even have to look, okay?
Well, and that brings up a good point on the number of likes on Facebook, for instance.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's always so concerned about the number of likes they have. Well, okay, you should be, because the more likes you have, the more chance you have of people engaging with what you're commenting on and what you're posting. But if you just have, like, let's say 5,000 likes, but 1 or 2 people commenting, what's the point?
Right.
I mean, that's not engagement. That's not creating a community. You don't have a following that's interested really in what you're doing.
We have the same problem with this as we've done everything else in the world. We always look at the numbers of people following somebody as the most important thing that people focus on. I know from my background in YouTube, people are really impressed now. If somebody has 1 million views, they're getting the hits, right? But guess what Google cares about? Watch time. They want to make sure those videos are not just being farmed by numbers for clicks to make them look good. And they're rating the watch time, not the view time. To them, views mean nothing if the content's not relevant.
That's right.
So relevant content. They're a search engine, and so is everybody else.
Exactly.
So that's what they're looking for, is people that are sharing. So the first thing I try to tell people to do on social networking, Kelly, is go engage with your folks. Compliment them on their flower, their picture, something. Just stay in the game, right? And
that's really key, especially if you've heard about any changes on Facebook recently. You've heard probably organic reach is down, and people are getting really angry, and well.
Let's talk about that. Why did that happen?
Okay, so Facebook, what they say, of course, they've made changes to their algorithm, and because there are so many people utilizing, we'll use Facebook because that's what I talk about a lot.
A lot of people are on.
So many people on Facebook, so many businesses now have business pages that Facebook says that if we let you see everything that everyone posted for every page that you followed or every friend that you had on Facebook, you wouldn't have time in the day to look at everything. So they've created this algorithm, which of course is a big mystery to anybody.
They all are.
How exactly it got created, and they'll probably change it, soon, because they always do. But they actually are looking at your engagement with the pages that you said you liked. I'm talking more about pages rather than profiles, because profile engagement, that's your personal profile on Facebook, hasn't gone down as much as page engagement, and page usually is related to your business. Just in case anyone is confused.
Yeah, well, and a lot of people are. They still don't get that there's a difference between the two.
Exactly. So a page is your business page for Facebook. And reach has gone down. Organic reach, that means it's not paid reach. So you're not paying for an ad on Facebook. It's just how many people are seeing what you're posting. If your people that have liked your page, if your community of followers aren't liking your comments or sharing your comments or sharing your posts or commenting on your posts, then Facebook goes, well, they don't really care about this page, so we're not going to show them that information.
And so the only way they're really going to up their status is if they buy the promote ads and get targeted to their demographic, which is exactly why they changed the algorithm.
Right.
They wanted to keep relevant content moving up on the organic side, but they wanted more people to buy into their going public, so they had to find a way to make money.
Of course,
and
so
they
are
all
all trying to make money.
But so for you guys that are posting a lot on Facebook, what Kelly's saying is that organic reach is not near the level it was, say, 8 months ago
Right.
when they changed this algorithm, that they're now wanting you to pay to play. And so keep that in mind, that you may need some other places to put your information outside of
Right.
Facebook, right? That's what we're getting ready to talk about in a
Exactly.
minute.
Well, and I also say, we kind of need to educate the public as well, because I noticed even some of the pages that I've liked, I wasn't getting the status updates because I'm guilty of what a lot of people do. I read it,
We
but
get
then
busy.
I don't comment,
We
and I
get
don't.
busy.
I do share quite a bit, but I don't usually comment on it.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, so if I'm noticing this, then other people must have noticed it. So I try to tell people, like my friends, just my,
Right.
personal friends, hey, if you really like a page, you need to engage with it. Now, Facebook ads really are fairly inexpensive for what you get from them.
I say so.
Yeah, and you're going to have to spend some kind of money on advertising. So just look at it, and that's actually one of these things we're going to talk about
We're going to
later
get
too.
it.
But
Right. Well, we got this kitchen table
yeah,
talk.
we
We're
don't have
good.
to talk about that. But I think when you decide if you're going to use some kind of social media platform, beyond some kind of media platform, that doesn't mean that you totally use social media for all your marketing.
No, that would be like, you can't, you got to balance this, right?
Right, exactly. So you look at what you're currently doing, and you just you reallocate resources. If it's time, money, how are you going to
Right.
add something new to the mix? Maybe something else is going to go away, but you're not going to just totally depend on social media. I mean, you have to keep doing some of the other things that are
Well,
working
if you're
for
not
you.
going to network groups and meeting
hmm
people and pressing the flesh, so to speak, shaking hands, getting to know people, and working off that referral base, which Scott Carley calls that niche marketing,
Oh, right,
right?
exactly.
And I agree with that. I mean, we all like that human reaction. You
Yes.
build even more trust, but the second best place to be is probably the social side.
hmm
Creating a blog of a hobby or something,
Right.
even if it's not related to your business, unless that's what you want, and getting it out there and letting people comment, and going and finding other blogs and commenting
Right.
people.
Yep.
I tell people all the time on YouTube, Telly, if I subscribe to your channel, you're more likely to subscribe to mine.
Right.
So
Exactly.
go out and subscribe to fun channels, right? All right.
Well,
So social media marketing, Facebook, and let's say this. Would you say this is true, that all these social sites are now looking for ways to promote within their own platform using advertising?
oh, I think so, because I know Twitter just came out with ads, and I've even heard something about LinkedIn. So, I mean, they're all, well, hey,
Premium for
everyone's out there to make money, so.
right, and I agree with that, and I just think we're seeing evolving now. I think when you start stair stepping, where, well, social networks not been around for 10 years really.
Right.
MySpace 2003, 4, right, 2, when it started to rumble up a little bit. Now we're starting to see these guys that are going IPO, getting serious about their models, trying to take advantage of the amount of people they have on them,
Right.
especially the big boys, right?
Right,
And so
exactly.
they're trying to figure out the way to keep it subtle, but
Right.
giving you a choice, right? All right. So why should and let's take a break for a sec.
Okay.
We're gonna take a real quick break. And by the way, don't let your website sound like this. Okay, you want it to be really active and really moving forward. But I want to thank Charles Schiller. Charles Schiller is with RoundRockHomeInspector.com. He's been inspecting home, and he's been, really, his tagline is, I've been protecting home buyers for over 20 years. And what he does is, he will come out if you're getting ready to sell your house and do a walkthrough, very extensive, take pictures, videos, put together a computer report, and goes through your house top to bottom, so you know what you need to do to make sure you get the maximum money for it. But he also likes to protect home buyers, and so if you're going to buy a home, he requests or suggests that you get a second opinion on that, because you are investing in your future. You want to make sure everything's right, nothing's been left undone. So Charles Schiller here in Austin, Texas. Charles Schiller is at RoundRockHomeInspector.com. He's got a YouTube channel with close to, oh gosh, I mean, he's got 108 subscribers, over 40,000 views, everything from washers, dryers, vents wrong. So
I'm gonna check that out.
Go check that out. I'll send you a link to that.
Yeah.
But RoundRockHomeInspector.com. And then I want to talk about Danny L. Smith. Danny L. Smith is a John Maxwell certified coach. He is also, his real claim to fame is he's been a mortgage banker here for 30 years. But he's an extremely good coach. Not only that. He has some masterminds. He has guerrilla mastermind
Oh,
groups for
okay.
realtors he teaches. But go check out his website, DannyLSmith.com. Everything's there. Go look at his John Maxwell stuff. Go look at his blog. Go look at his Go look at his mortgage company, Gateway Mortgage Group, and check out Danny L. Smith. So we're back.
All
Let's
right,
tell them your
great.
website, Kelly.
Oh, it's www.simplificationservices.com.
All right. So why should why should a my small business? Let's just say, and I'm representing people and I say that.
Right.
Why do they need to be on a social marketing?
Well, because social media is a great tool, great marketing tool for building that community of followers that we were talking about. Just like we mentioned offline networking, BNI or Chamber of Commerce or whatever networking group that
Right.
you go to, just think about the small number of people that you reach. Even though your group may be referring you to others, social media, think of how many people you're reaching in just a short amount of time. I mean, it's really a great way to build that community of followers, and then just the people can get to know you. And like I said before, people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Right. And you know what? The people that don't think they have a lot of people following them, for instance, if you have a couple people on there and you don't think, I had a customer tell, well, I've only gotten 1,000 views. I said, go put 1,000 people in a room
Right.
and look at that, and then look at that number.
Uh-huh.
That's 1,000 people
Yeah, 1,000
that you
people.
probably, I would say 90% of them you would have never known or found
Right.
at all, right? That are part of your interaction.
Exactly.
So keep in mind that you are reaching out, but you have to come in behind that.
Right. Yeah, you have to make sure that when people do comment or like your page or like a post or share what you've posted, that you thank them. And if they have questions, if someone's asked you a question, make
Yep.
sure that you respond to it. And that's just how you get them to pass on the information as well.
Do you help with reputation management within these sites, or do
Well,
you just kind of help push that out to somebody else if they're
right.
having some issues with that?
I am
Right.
not a reputation manager, but
Neither am I. I
right.
always outsource that
Mhm.
myself. I just thought of that
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
All right.
definitely.
So how does a business needs it because they can gain followers and gain people, right, Kelly? But
Mhm.
How do they know which ones to kind of get on, right?
Which social media to be using?
Yeah, because I'm not going to use Pinterest as much as you
Right.
probably, right? Because
I don't even use Pinterest that much.
Well, I know, but there's
Right.
but people shop like Pinterest, and it's fashion, and I can see
Yes.
that being a real big deal, right?
Well, that's what you need to do. So that's the second step. When like I said earlier, we'll talk about the goals. Why do you think you need to be on social media? Okay, now that we've determined, okay, we do think we need to be on social media, which platform are we going to be on? Okay,
Right.
so is it going to be Pinterest? Is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be Twitter? I mean, or Google Plus.
Mhm.
It depends on what type of business you have. If you have a business with a lot of that's just, or Instagram, for instance. Instagram is becoming very popular as well.
And Vine.
Oh
too,
yeah,
but
Vine is good
Instagram
too.
especially. They
Mhm.
got the name.
Yeah, but if you have something that has a lot of products that are easily photographable and people can buy them right there, Pinterest is a great one for that. Or if you're really into jewelry or crafting, or you have a fitness business or a cooking business or
Right.
retail store, that kind of thing is just like gangbusters on Pinterest. But even, like a social media business, people can really use that to market their business as well. I don't as much for myself, but I
Right.
mean, I have seen plenty of other people who do.
And I agree with that. I mean, and this is where you come in. This is where I want to brag about you a little bit, because if you're struggling with this, or you're
Mhm.
confused, or going back to your three statements,
Right.
frustrated and overwhelmed, this is the place where I really think you need to bring Kelly in on this, because where she can help you is she can answer those questions of why you and what you need to do within it, and based on what she comes up with, the assessment, what you do with them, you can sit down and start helping them figure out how they need to manage this, right?
Right. Right.
And that's really what you do. You take the hassle of that for them.
Right.
Doesn't
Exactly.
mean you're not interacting with them, but you're learning what needs to be put out there for
Right.
them,
I
right?
look at what type of business they are, and then I look at their competitors, and I see what they're doing. I
And
do the
that
research for
very
them.
smart,
Mhm.
very smart. I tell people all the time, If you want to find out why you're not getting business, number one, go out and search what your service industry is doing out there, and then copy the heck out of the successful ones. I'm sorry, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just go find the ones that are doing it right and copy them.
Well, that's what I do.
I mean, it makes. I mean, hey, if so and so down the street, X company is doing this, and they're getting the doors being knocked down, or it's working, and you're seeing them all over the place, it's driving you crazy. Copy them.
Yeah, I mean,
start following the model.
Exactly. It's not taking their stuff, and
we don't mean
stealing
going
from
out
them,
and copying your blog.
Exactly.
No,
we're not doing
what I'm saying is, find out what. If you're in a very similar business, find out what they're using and implement it.
Right.
Because it means it'll work for you probably.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, yeah, like you said, don't reinvent the wheel.
It's not going to happen overnight, but you can start.
Exactly.
Okay, so how can a business owner tell if using social media has kind of been successful? And that's a pretty loaded word, because we're really talking about return on their investment in it. If they're paying a lot of money into it for the tools and things, how do we know?
Well, so that is a good question.
That's a tough question.
Successful. That's how do they measure success? And that is the question I asked them. Okay, so before we even talk about social media, how are you measuring or finding out where your leads are coming from now, and how your sales are being generated now? And if they aren't even capturing that data, then just adding social media to the mix isn't going to really tell them anything. Right. I mean, let's say, they start doing a social media campaign and their sales decrease by 10%. And then they're going to immediately blame it on social media. But how do you know it was social media?
Yeah, speaking of that reminds me, I had a client the other day that told me the business has gotten slow. And we went back and we pulled the from one of the companies works with them, and I just went through them and broke them down. Then I went over and looked at some other things they were doing, and their placements were fantastic. Okay, their videos were good, their regular search engines were good, their placements on Google were good, and so sometimes, Kelly, it just gets slow.
Right.
I tell people, if you're placed and you're there and you're being seen and you've got a lot of impressions, that means they're finding it. We just got to get them up the driveway. So at least from that, we can tell that maybe he's in a slow market right now.
Right.
And
that's
true. I start calling around. I find out a lot of people are slow.
Yeah.
So there are ways to look at the numbers. Physically, honestly, you could even go back into Facebook and start counting your pluses and start counting your likes if you wanted to do a physical inventory. Have somebody kind of monitor that and see what kind of response you're getting, and see which ones do really well and see the posts that do really bad.
Exactly. Well, and that's something I do as part of my service that I offer is monthly I'll give a report saying, okay, at the last month we had this many likes on Facebook, and these types of posts were high engagement, and these posts were low engagement. So everyone can look at those. It has a page. They can look at their Facebook insights. You can do Twitter. You can do the same thing. You can see how many followers you have, how many you're following, how many retweeting.
Are you
and Google Plus, how many plus ones did you have, how many shares? There's all ways you can look at that. And you mentioned Google Analytics, and I mean that's just an awesome way. If you don't have Google Analytics installed on your website, then I highly encourage you. Again, it goes back to that the website is like the number one priority.
It really is.
If you don't have Google Analytics on there, you need to get it on there, because
and
the
it's
reports.
Real simple. You go type in Google Analytics. They issue you a number. You put your website in. You get a number. You can use that number on your YouTube channel everywhere. So I'm just saying, get with Kelly or get with somebody, because she can make sure that that's done.
Yeah, because the reports will come. They'll tell you how many people came to your website from Facebook, how many came from Twitter.
Look at the breakdown of the demographics and everything, and see where it's just crazy how good. So this is where you find out your success, and it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to narrow down right to the dollar and all that, right? There's some formulas for that.
Right, and you have to remember too, it's going to take time because you're building those relationships. So, I always tell people it's going to take at least 3 months to see some type of return, because
you're quicker than I am on that. I actually tell them, give me 6 months to really work this system, right?
Unless you're going to just pay a ton of money for advertising, and that's not buying likes, but
right.
You're going to just advertise the heck out of it. You might see a a bigger return that way. But just in general, to get your sites set up so they're optimized, because you can optimize your social media platforms for search just like you do your website with good keyword placement and things like that. And that's what I help business owners
And
with.
do you help these companies keep their message consistent across the board? Because I've seen some where they have one mission statement on one on another, and it's all over the place. So part of that, you're going in and helping them get this solidified, right?
Right. You try to keep their branding the same throughout, like try to have the same profile picture on all the social media, and the colors the same, and just their branding, really.
And I would think there's a difference between the way that you present yourself on social media if you're a conceptual type of business versus a real product, right?
Yes.
I think that the product side does really well, meaning if you have X widget, right, and people want it, you can push that out there, pictures and video, or just post it and go to my website. But a lot of us, like you, me, and a lot of other people, we're in a very educational, talking, educating, helping them along. It's kind of, we can't put up like a shopping cart for that. You know?
We don't have a widget to show you.
You customize most of your social management with your clients. Do you sit down and do everyone's different, right? So there's a customization that goes on with each one of your social businesses.
Yes,
okay,
definitely.
Cool. All right, so will social media, I love this question. I love this question. I'm so glad you brought this one, because this is where we can go. Okay, we'll let you answer. Will social media fix my business?
No.
Thank you. I'm gonna do this.
All right,
I've had it. Ready? Yes. Man, you know how many times I've heard that?
Oh my gosh. Well,
yeah.
I've heard.
I mean, people want to know when they've been in the game for a long time. Hey, this isn't fixing my business. I've actually heard that.
Oh my gosh.
And I go, you can't.
Right. No. I mean, if your reputation is already not very good.
Well, let's say it's not even reputation. Let's just say it's not the thing that makes or breaks a business, right?
Okay, exactly.
How's that? That's where I was going with it, but you're right.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that is good about social media is it can help you strengthen your relationship. So if you did get a bad comment on Google Plus or
Yelp,
Facebook,
for God's sake, or whatever.
Yelp is a little different, but
at
least Facebook and Google Plus, you can actually address it really quick, and you can let them know, you can try to resolve the problem. You can let the other people know that are following, hey, I've tried to do something about this.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that is the two-way street that's there. And I tell people all the time, if you're not getting complaints, you're not busy. Right. And that doesn't mean but your good better way outweigh your bad, right? Everybody's going to have that happen. You can't be scared to do business online because of that. If you do, you're still losing out. That's what I tell people, right?
That's true. Yeah.
And
you can't afford not to be online.
But it won't fix your business. If you're doing the wrong things before you got into social network, that's just going to make it bigger and broader.
Right.
You're not going to be able to run and hide.
Exactly. No.
And then people will tell people about it. So it works both ways.
It does.
All right. So that's what you meant by that.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So before I get into the advertising, let's go back to a little bit about Google, because you had a blog, and I'm going to concur with you. It was a real important blog. I don't think people that don't understand know this, right? We're talking about the website and stuff, and I meant to ask you this earlier. You had an important blog. Google has pulled their keywords tool for the person to go on and look up and see what's searching high, medium, low, not giving you any indication of what's really working and not working. Big deal?
That's a big deal, yep. And I think they've even gone as far as they're pulling it from Google AdWords as well, is what I think I read recently. And so we're kind of in the dark, like, okay, what did people search? So it's even more important to make sure that you are using your keywords everywhere, but you want to use them in a way that's genuine. You're not just going to sprinkle them in there where it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you want. And I'm just talking to our lay people listening in, and we got more experts probably listening in than me and you put together, right?
Exactly,
that's fine.
Definitely.
We don't.
I'm
but
definitely
at
not
least
an
we're
expert on
here
this,
doing it, right? And we're in the trenches every day, so we know this. And Google is really trying to revamp their what they are. They're a search engine, and
Mm-hmm.
they are going to they've gotten really serious with Panda and with Hummingbird and with Canary now for guest
Mm-hmm.
blogging. They just nailed
Mm-hmm.
that down, and with their what's the other one, Pandora, whatever. There's
Right.
four
Yeah, some
major
other.
ones just released. Okay, but the bottom line is the reason they're a search engine, and they want to match real queries as close to possible when people
Mm-hmm.
are searching.
Mm-hmm.
So if you type in a transmission for a 1999 Oldsmobile, they want you to come up with a lot of stuff about that particular car and not
Right.
just Oldsmobile and not just 1999. And there's a lot of people that were gaming that by using those keywords that were really what they called spammy,
Right. Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And putting them and sprinkle them in, and they had nothing to do with the material,
Exactly.
right? So understand that Google's doing that because one, they're a profit for company and they're
Right.
going to take care of themselves. So don't be mad at them.
Right.
And so be aware that the
Exactly.
changes that they're all looking at the social networking, and you're going to see a huge evolvement, and it's really going to come down to who's relevant and who's not. I hate to
Right.
say it.
No, that's so true because they want people to find exactly what they're looking for.
Right.
So just like you said, they don't want the spammy websites to come up top in the search engine. They want people to go
Right.
finding the exact.
They want to find what they're looking for,
exactly.
service or product. And I will tell you, so when you're working with a company, Kelly, because I imagine when you're doing the social networking, right, you're thinking in terms of platform and giving a solid message so that they get a
Right.
real, they are offering what they say they offer, and it's
Yes.
really searchable and it's really good for them.
Right.
And that's the tough part
Right.
because you don't have anything to go by.
Exactly.
Right, unless you buy it.
Right.
All right,
Yeah,
so
it is tough.
why should a business owner stop using should a business owner stop using other forms of advertising? In this case, I imagine you're talking about traditional.
Right. And we touched on that a little bit earlier. Like if they have a direct mail campaign now, or billboards or cold calls or whatever it is that they're currently doing, like I said earlier, you don't want to just start doing social media and that's it. Because first of all, not everybody's on social media.
That's true.
It does matter where you need to research and figure out where your ideal client is coming from, but I can tell you that they're not all going to be on social media.
That's true.
And so you don't want it's kind of like that. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You're not going to just throw all your money at social media.
Right.
You want to keep doing, if you're doing a direct mail, let's say, campaign, and that really does bring in a lot of traffic, then why would you stop doing that?
Yeah, you only stop doing things that don't work.
Right.
and I there's all sorts of great traditional, and I'm one of these people who believe you do mix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If your
Definitely.
business is catered to it. If it's something that's conceptual, you probably don't want to do a hyper local paper like Community Impact.
Right.
But Community Impact here locally, right, is hyper local into a specific market
Exactly.
with specific business. That makes total sense to me.
Exactly.
Because they can drive traffic to their website with the ad, right? So you don't want to give up on those traditional sources that are driving traffic, right? But you can still drive them back toward the online side.
Well, and yeah, even that way you can get more repeat business actually, because if you get them in, like let's say they find you in that Community Impact and they come to your restaurant or your retail location, and then you have, find us on Facebook or whatever, or even if you're giving away a coupon or something.
Well, promotional items.
Yes,
pins,
exactly.
T-shirts, a cup that reminds you of the business, all that stuff.
Right.
Cool, But the online just is kind of I call it the accelerator on the car. It's where you can really push it down and push out all that stuff you're doing.
Yeah, because you can get that repeat business that way. Because if they go back and they like you on whatever social media platform you're on, then they're going to keep getting reminders. So it's kind of like that email marketing campaign too. I mean, email marketing is not dead either.
Why do people say that?
I don't know.
Do you check your email every day?
I check my email every day.
Do you check it on your phone?
I check it on my phone.
Do you think everybody else? I know I see everybody else doing that too. So yeah. I don't think.
I mean, you may not read every single email that you get, but the fact is,
it's not dead.
Yeah, if someone's doing a monthly or even every other week email marketing campaign, you're at least looking at the headline. And then you go, oh yeah, I know, I remember.
That's really
that
smart.
person.
Do you help with that too?
I do. I can help people set that up.
Okay, great. So you can help with either one of them.
Well, what I usually do, I really encourage the blog, and then say, okay, if you have a list if you have a way of capturing email addresses, which of course you can do that from social media as
Right.
well, but if they already have a way of capturing email addresses, we just repurpose that blog. We
Right.
put the blog post out there, we send it as an email campaign, and we push it out to all the social media. So
Right.
you're not rewriting or writing, multiple.
And I think that's a real key point you
Mhm.
just made, because some people really spend a lot of time on both, right?
Right.
Why can't you just take what you put out on blog and then create it to a specific email database that's maybe not reading your blog, but hey, you have their
Right.
email, right? And you
Exactly.
can push it right out to them.
Right.
That's something you can help them do.
I can
You
help them
guys
set that up.
definitely want to pay attention to that. That's a good tool.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great tool. All right, so let's give them your website again.
Okay, it's www.simplificationservices.com.
And what does your typical customer look like? Because I wanted to ask you this before we get toward the end of the show. What is a typical business? We said 10 employees, but are they struggling when they call you? Are they wanting some other additional things on top of what they're doing? They're just too busy. Where do you generally come in?
Usually it's that they know they need to do some type of social media. They've probably set up a Facebook page, they probably have a Twitter profile, they have a Google Plus page, but that's it. They've set it up, but then they'll have one post.
Let's talk about Google Plus a minute.
Okay.
It is the most, I love it,
but
it is the most ridiculous, confusing social site yet, but it's so good for your blog and search and stuff because they're part of the search engine. But let me give you an example. Can I?
Please.
I set up Google Places a long time ago. And then they came along G+. So I went and set up a profile and businessed it out with my picture. And then they come along and say, oh, now you can create a business page. Well, I already had that page. Then I go over to Google Places and they merged that with Google Places. So you now have two Google Place pages, and the Google Place one's connected to one there's nobody following you, but the one you built elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what I did, here's a hint. If you have a Google Plus page connected to your Google Places, right, and it's not the one you're using, go over in it and copy the URL link to the one you're on and direct them to the one where you have all your followers.
All right. Yeah, that's good.
God, what a mess.
Yes. It is. I
empathize with everybody, don't you?
Well, yeah, I have to say that, Google Plus really isn't my favorite, but
that's fine.
I still recommend it.
Yep.
Because it's Google.
Right. Right.
And I tell people that too. I said, well, we still need to set up your Google Plus page.
Right. And even if you just set it up and don't do anything on it for a while, that's fine. Just follow your friends and get them on there, because what's going to happen is it's going to keep evolving. Google's always been known to throw stuff out and see how it sticks, and then either take something away or put something else back on. So just know that, okay?
Well, and just like we said earlier about Facebook, how organic reach has gone down. Maybe I don't know what's going to happen with Facebook in a few years, and which one's going to take its place, or it may be Google Plus. I don't know. I'm not making any predictions. I'm just saying that something's going to change. So if you're already on there, well, hey, it's works out great.
And they do all the time. So just be prepared for that. So don't feel like the Lone Ranger if you get lost on some of that stuff. And call Kelly if you do, because she can help you with that. Okay, so if you started tomorrow, Kelly, and I said, Kelly, I want my business on every single social network.
Well, I would just laugh just like that, because of course, there's so many social networks, just like everything. Right. There's no way you can be on all of them.
And you don't even know if it matches your target. Right.
Yeah. So we just kind of, talk about what's the target market, where are they? If you're looking at teenagers, then they're not on Facebook as much anymore. So you got to figure out where they are, and they're on Instagram, Snapchat.
I was gonna say, go advertise on Snapchat, right?
Probably Vine. They want to be not where their parents are.
And that's what they did. They all went away. The people started and went bye.
Yeah, but but my demographic,
is growing.
We're great on Facebook. I love Facebook. So it just really depends. And Twitter is really good, I think, for a business where you have a lot going on, a lot happening, where there's a lot of like a restaurant or a bar, places where they've got a lot of events going on where they can
post it out and push it out and hashtag it and get a following on that.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Cool. So it really just depends, on
it depends how
with
you
the
use
business
it too. And
exactly.
I tell people, some people you probably, when you figure out their target market and see which ones they really need to be on, it might be surprising that they're on a few that are offbeat because they cover what they do, right? If you sell a
Right.
skateboard, you're not going to worry about being on LinkedIn
Right.
pushing a
Exactly.
skateboard, right? And if
Exactly.
you sell a boat, you're not going to be worried about advertising or drilling down to the 25-year-old that's still trying to find a job.
Right. Who can't afford a
So
boat
you got to
anyway?
know
Exactly.
where these places are. And Kelly is real good on, we've had a lot of meetings, and she's really good on the demographic side of figuring out uh, where a company fits
Hmm.
in with this. And then she can help post and help manage that.
Right.
Do you see the importance of pictures right now?
Oh yes, images are very high,
Bought images
clickable,
or actual real images?
real images.
Thank you.
So, Instagram's really hot. I don't use Instagram as much because that's hard for me. I mean, that as a social media manager, that's hard for me to manage someone else's Instagram account.
Yeah, that's kind of one you need to say, take the pictures and then tell me what you want me to write around them in a blog or a post or
Right.
whatever, right?
Exactly.
You take them, you explain them to me.
But anytime you have pictures that are real, not stock images,
Thank you.
they're going to have a much higher engagement rate.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I try to get my clients really send me a lot of pictures. Anytime they do an event, take pictures. Make sure you post those.
I was thinking about that today too. I was looking at a couple websites, Kelly, and I noticed they were using stock pictures, and I was thinking, boy, how much cooler would it be if they just had a picture of their family or themselves, or by their coolest car, or I don't mean that,
Yeah,
or by
yeah,
their, to kind of
exactly. It makes
bring
it more personal.
and not just look so impersonal, because
Right.
it doesn't build anything.
Right.
People want to see who they're dealing with.
Well, and then if you've seen that stock image, on 10 other websites, and you're like, oh well, whatever. Doesn't really tell you anything about
when you see the same one over,
yeah, over and over again. Yeah, it's like, wait, oh yeah, that's that same picture I already.
That's not the one I bookmarked.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you help? We're winding down. So how do you help small business owners?
Well, I think we've really covered that a lot.
You have. I
We've
just want
talked
to make
about.
sure we repeat it, because people come in the show, right? And
That's
so
true.
your job is to sit down with them, do an assessment, and
Right. We're going to talk about the goals, and we'll talk about their target market. I always ask them who they think their biggest competitors are. So that's where I get that research and say, well, hey, I did look at those, because I always do some research anyway before I meet with somebody, and be like, these people all have Facebook pages, but they're not doing anything on Facebook. So, it's like I don't really think Facebook is the place to be.
Right, and I bet you find a lot of clients by going through and looking at different ones and seeing what they're doing or not doing, right?
Right.
That's good, and so you can get an overview of this kind of stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
so I got to ask this question.
Okay.
You ready? Because we're going real tight
Right.
on time.
Yeah,
What's the most important thing a social media manager should be doing? And I should say tasking.
Yes. Well, of course, it's looking at monitoring your audience. Are people responding? Are they sharing? Are they liking? You need to really be engaged with them. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, why are you putting anything out there if people are going to respond and then you're not going to say anything back?
Right.
It's a conversation. So really, the social media, and in my case, if someone asks a question and I am acting as the company, because I'm managing their accounts, if I don't know the answer, I'm just going to talk to the owner. I mean, I'm just going to say, hey,
I got this question.
yeah,
how do you want me to answer?
Exactly. Or if it's a comment that I just don't know how to respond to.
Plus, they get all these cool reports, and they'll get the stuff from you to keep up with it, so they feel good, and and it goes back to your three things, right?
Right.
Confusion, struggling, and frustrated and overwhelming. That's what you're trying to solve. That is what you're solving for the client, those pains, right?
Well, and I come up with the content as well. So it's not like, people get all worried. Yeah, they're like, well, am I going to have to give you all the stuff that I want you to post? And I'm like, well, no, that's the reason why you're hiring me.
So I can do that for you.
Right. And how I do that is I look at their website. I have a lot of conversations with them. I look at what their competitors are doing. I also look at other relevant sites and share that content, because everything doesn't have to be from you. You can share content from other businesses that are not your competitors, but in
ideas.
Yeah,
curate some material.
Exactly. Curate the content from others, and when you share it on social media, that company is given the credit for it. It's not like you're sealing it and putting it on your
if you're
site.
sharing it through the normal share channels,
Right.
which is a great idea, you can reinforce your model by showing people what's going on in the market you're in. I
Right.
do it all the time. On
Right.
my Twitter, I push out article
Yes.
after article about why it's important to be on YouTube. It has nothing to do with what Hurdy says.
Right.
I'm just showing
Exactly.
you where you need to be.
Well, so like I have a client that's a personal trainer, so I like to push out good recipe ideas, that
Great
are
idea.
healthy.
Juicing stuff.
Exactly,
That's a great
exactly.
idea.
And then, different ways to exercise, benefits of exercise, just things that he didn't come up with, but these are all and that's another good point. I always check with the client and say, hey, I'm going to follow this doctor, or I'm going to follow this page, and is this, will you take a look at it and make sure this
Right,
is,
right.
someone that you want me to follow?
Right.
So I do that research for them, so they don't have to.
That's pretty good. So, Kelly, we're winding down,
Yep.
but let's go ahead and give them your website again.
Okay, it's www.simplificationservices.com.
And I want to thank you for being a guest tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
I told you how fast this would go.
I know.
Right? We could talk about this forever. Really, we could.
Yeah, well, I know. We're talkative.
And that's fine. That's why we're on that. That's why I do this, okay? And so, Kelly, go check out her website. You can contact her through the website. If you're especially in the Austin area, right, she really wants to sit down. She'll sit down with you and have a conversation. She likes to build that know, like, and trust. I know that because that's how we did our first one-on-one, and this is how we've gotten to know each other over time. And share this, because what's going to happen tonight now the show's over is I'm going to go to YouTube, Kelly, for you, and we're going to make a custom player and give it to you to put on your website, okay? So you'll have that by tomorrow morning.
Okay, great.
I promise.
Thank you.
And I again wanted to thank you, and if there's anybody you want to invite to this show, we started new 20 shows in June.
Okay.
I'll take the last week of May off to give myself a little bit of break before we start the next 20 shows. I want to thank all my sponsors for coming back.
Great.
That's always nice.
Yes,
right?
That's
that
awesome.
That means they're not listening, because if they're listening, they wouldn't be a part of the show. So, hey, we'll see you guys around the corner. We're here every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is the Hurdy Burke Broadcast Network. You can also find that group on Facebook, so go check it out. Kelly, say good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.